Hello and welcome to 6 Shots with vmcampos. I'm your host, vmcampos. This is the series where I review film and cameras while taking you on a photographic journey. Then I show you my 6 favorite shots. Today's journey is to the University of California, San Diego. My gear is the Konica Auto S2. And my film stock is some expired Fuji Reala 100. Let's go on that photo journey. So I was a student at UCSD at the turn of the century. Yes, way back in the 1900s, I went to UCSD. It was a great time. I learned a lot, even in the classroom. Nearly 30 years later, I went back for a photo journey, and I took my trusty Konica Auto S2 rangefinder camera. This is a rangefinder camera, fully mechanical. It's from the 60s. It's got a Hexanon 45mm f1.8 lens, fully rangefinder and mechanical. The batteries don't work, so I have to rely on a light meter, and that means I'm using the KEKS light meter version 2 as my way of getting proper exposure on this manual little beauty. And it was quite an enjoyable photo walk. My film of choice was this Fuji Reala 100 that expired a little while ago. This says best used by 1996. So we're gonna see some old film goodness. 100 speed, 36 exposures, classic Fuji film that they're not making anymore. But I found some on eBay and tried it out during this photo walk at UCSD. Overall, the grain was still good, still nice and sharp at 100 speed. Colors were pretty muted, which of course you can edit in post, but that's to be expected for film that expired in 1996, during the good old days at the turn of the millennium, without a care in the world. Alright, so switching over to my photos, the photo journey began on a nice, bright, sunny San Diego day. And this was the first shot right here of Russell Lane in one of the many parking structures at UCSD. Now, I was a student at UCSD at the turn of the century. I lived in the dorms. It was a magical time. Living away from home, getting a high-class education. UCSD is a very competitive school, and I learned a lot. So we're seeing here the film is kind of muted. The colors are a little bit muted. Obviously, in Photoshop, I could definitely tweak things, but the sharpness is good. Here I am pixel peeping at 100%. You can still, even read these signs here, University Center, bike lane, and the sign on the back, and the people there everywhere. So for being very expired film, I think the sharpness of it still shows through. Colors are a little muted, however. One of the most famous things to take a photo of is Geisel Library, named after Dr. Seuss. If you didn't know, Dr. Seuss is like the patron saint of UCSD. The library is named after him. You can't quite see it in the photo, but it's at the very end of the price walk right here. I'm at the far end. We're going to get closer in a moment. But here is the price walk with a variety of graduating class markers here on the left side. And UCSD is really nice. It's like a self-contained city with lots of classrooms, study areas, shops, dorms, etc. It was really a magical time to live on campus, to be so far away from home. I live in San Diego. I grew up in Imperial Beach, and then I moved up to La Jolla in San Diego, where UCSD was at during this time, so it was a magical time to live there. And it was really cool to visit again nearly 30 years later and go on a photo walk. But anyway, here's a shot here. Once again, the colors are kind of muted, but it's still very sharp. This film still holds up years later. One of the first classes that I took when I first went to UCSD in the late 90s was in that building right there, the Price Center? What's that building called again? Anyway, I had a class in that building there, and again, visiting nearly 30 years later, it was bringing back all the feels. Alright, so speaking of that building, I got up on the higher, at that corner actually. I got up on the top of that building there and then looked back. So this shot right here, looking to the north, then I got in the building looking to the south, and you get this sense of perspective from the top levels over here. And I kind of like that it's kind of empty. I went on a weekend also, so there wasn't a lot of foot traffic, or I took kind of the opportunity to take photos with less people just to kind of get the environs. And it's really interesting how we've got sort of like a little forest. The forest ends right here, and then here's civilization, classrooms. So I kind of like the dichotomy of that. There's a lot of greenery on the campus. There's a lot of modern buildings, science buildings, biotech buildings, and the like. UCSD is known as a big biotech university. A lot of luminaries have come out of there, including Mike Judge. Oh, this was fun. So again, going further north, further into the center of campus, here is one of the, again, big student areas, the Price Center, coming to hang out. There's a cool little waterfall, water sculpture thing. That water flows down there. And at the very end, I took these photos during Halloween, actually October 30th. So right before Halloween time, we have here some adornment with a big old pumpkin looking benevolently upon the student populace. And then the path on the side over here to walk in a zigzag pattern, going down there to the student center. There's a Starbucks there. There's the official campus bookstore. There's a theater. There's just a hangout spot. Again, zooming into 100%, I'm seeing the texture of the tree very well. There's a hammock on the side, someone hanging out there. The grain, the quality of the film is still pretty intact. The colors are weak, but it gives it that sort of nostalgic colorization to the shots. In Southern California, we don't have a lot of the color-changing trees that you might have in other parts of the country. They're here and there, and growing up myself, I wasn't extremely used to the color-changing trees, but living at UCSD, there are those there, and here they are starting to change to the autumnal colors. I like the shot here, actually. Again, there's many places to congregate, to have a sip of your latte, to do your work, to stress about homework, to chat and hang out with friends. And we've got a bunch of chairs here alternating black, white, gray with the blue covers. Blue is one of the main colors of the UCSD crest, and the Tritons are the mascot. The seafarers are the mascot of the university. So I like this shot here, sort of the guiding lines of the chairs going towards the back, more lines of the stairs going to the various levels of the Price Center, someone just going from class to class, listening to music in their own world. And I like how I was able to catch the perspective of the things close by, pretty good, nice and sharp, in the middle ground, and then in the background as well. This is one of my favorite shots that I took that day. All right, here is the end, or the start of the trail. I was on the other side over there, and I've gone to the end. You're walking on these cobblestone, this cobblestone design of a big old snake, and at the very end you have its tongue there. And if you walk and follow it to the very foot of this hill, it's a really cool path. Now, it is slippery when wet. It is a bit of a treacherous walk. You have to be careful. You can easily slip when things get wet. And the best way to see this, of course, is through some sort of aerial shot as a drone, perhaps, but I'm on foot, so I see it from this perspective, the little snake path. All right, so here is a very abstract shot of the library from below. This brutalist architecture, stonework, utilitarian, but still artistic in a way. Lots of glass, lots of stone. It's been there for decades. You get this pretty abstract pattern from below, the contrast of the sunlight, golden tones with the blue tones of the sky, reflection of the sky. You're seeing some beautiful grain in the film, and this is hundreds of feet up, dozens of meters up. It is a very impressive structure. The Geisel Library. Spent many a day there, researching, finding knowledge to put together my various term papers and the like. It's the #1 most recognizable building on campus. UCSD is divided into a variety of sub-colleges where you sort of specialize your education. When I was there in the 90s, I was in third college, as the old-timers called it. They were constructed in a sequence, and at that time, Third College was one of the newer colleges. Its official name was Marshall College, named after Thurgood Marshall, the first African-American Supreme Court Justice of the United States. When I was there, the new college was Fifth College. Eventually, that was named to Eleanor Roosevelt College, and now they've got a seventh college. Wow, time flies and things evolve. Well, in Marshall College, one of the lecture halls, when I was there, I don't believe this mural was there, this mosaic, that is. And this is an amazing mosaic commemorating Cesar Chavez, Latino civil rights pioneer. And it's just this beautiful, intricate mosaic style of artwork with some indigenous plants and the like. And again, I'm amazed that this completely expired old film still has this amazing resolving power to capture all of these tiles in the artwork. Most of my settings were at f11, 1/250th f11 or so on that Konica camera, and I was able to capture a lot of detail in my scans. You can see every leaf of this plant, and even in the cactus over here, and more importantly, every detail in the mosaic of this artwork. This is another building, and again, there's artwork at every turn. Not only are you there to nourish the mind, but you're there to nourish the soul with art. Going further north, when I was there, this building was nothing. It was just a parking lot, and it's just shocking to be there 30 years later and see this was nothing when I was here, and now it's a multi-story building. Amazing. The march of time. And what I like about this shot is you have these brand new modern buildings. Apologies, I don't remember what was the purpose in this building, but you're looking to the west over here, and that's the Pacific Ocean. That is actually somewhere in the area there of the La Jolla Bluffs, Black's Beach. Black's Beach, fun fact, is a local nudist clothing optional beach. So when you are wanting to unwind after your hard studies at the college, you just go down the street, take your clothes off, and dive into the Pacific Ocean to enjoy Mother Nature in all its glory. And so the contrast of new buildings, looking to the west, glass and metal, and then right over there is the mighty Pacific Ocean. We've got this greenery and the blues of the sky and the ocean. I really like the depth of field in this image that you just see so much in focus from where I'm standing all the way to the back. Everything is in a good amount of focus, and you get a sense of this is a massive building full of students throughout the week. I happened to be there on a weekend, so it was a little bit more sedate, and it let me concentrate on the architecture. Speaking of which, again, when I was there 30 years ago, this was an empty parking lot. So I have to wonder, where do people park now that the parking structures have been taken? And now it's a multi-story building. I believe these are dorms. On the bottom floors, there are also shops and the like. And I like here the contrast of, well, here's a student, and it's these sort of mini cities among the whole campus. What does that say? Cataclysm? No, catalyst. Here's one lone student within the environs of a mini city of education and knowledge and artwork. You will want for nothing if you live there, because you have transportation around campus, you have shops, groceries, coffee, gyms, computer labs, everything that you could possibly want living on campus. And for those of you that are younger and thinking of going off to the college experience, I would highly recommend it. It is an eye-opening thing to get out of your own sleepy hometown, be surrounded with thousands of new people with different perspectives, furthering your education both mentally and spiritually. Again, I'm astounded by what this was, that it was nothing when I was there, and now it is a multi-story building like it's always existed. Okay, speaking of which, then right literally behind me where I was standing is one of the oldest buildings that's been there since the 60s, maybe the 70s. So the contrast of the new building, and then right on the other side literally is then one of the old classic buildings. Again, just steel, concrete, just classic building. It's the Applied Physics and Mathematics building. I never had classes there. I would always walk past it. I think I have a memory of actually going there for some reason, maybe to use some old computers when I was taking some of my computer science classes before I switched majors. I ended up not liking computer science after all. Long story. And so here I caught a student going back and forth through the various old buildings. A little bit blurry because they were in a rush. And you see that a lot, that everyone's got their headphones, their music, not to be disturbed. Just a sign of the times. It's interesting to think about. I was using a camera from the 60s, taking photos with film from the 90s, buildings from the 70s, from the 2020s, all mishmashed all together. And those were my 6 shots on the Konica Auto S2, this vintage rangefinder from the 60s, shooting expired Fuji film from the 90s. Which was your favorite shot? Tell me in the comments. Which shot was close enough but just needed a little bit of extra to be perfect? Tell me in the comments. Have you shot expired film? Have you shot expired Fuji film from the 90s? Tell me in the comments. Do you love these rangefinders, or do you go with medium format or SLRs? Tell me in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell, battle the Minotaur, do all the good stuff. I really appreciate it. Consider going over to the Patreon, patreon.com/vmcampos to pledge to keep the channel going. Or maybe here in YouTube, you can click the join button. That's just as good. Keep the channel going, get some rewards. I would really appreciate it. Or click that thanks button. That is also very much appreciated. Thanks to you, I can keep the channel going. I can review more cameras and film and take you on my photo journeys to show you my 6 favorite shots. And those of you that do pledge, I thank you very much. You mean a lot to me. In any event, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell, battle the Minotaur, do all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. This has been VM Campos, and I'll see you in the dark room.